Part 1. The secret they buried in the attic. The Frost family had always been ordinary. Ordinary house, ordinary habits, ordinary life. But behind their quiet routines lay a secret so strange, so unbelievable, that even they sometimes wondered if it had all been a dream. It started nearly 50 years ago. John Frost was 24 when he stumbled upon a peculiar antique shop during a trip to Scotland. The shop sat in a narrow alley, half hidden by fog, as if it waited specifically for him. He remembered the way the door creaked open by itself, and how the smell of old parchment and dust filled the air. Behind the counter stood an old woman, thin as a branch, with eyes that reflected candlelight even before she lit any candles. "You're looking for something unusual," she whispered without being asked. John shook his head. "Just browsing. Everyone who enters here seeks what they cannot admit," she murmured. Then she disappeared behind a curtain and returned with something wrapped in a dark velvet cloth. A cloak. Brownish-gray, heavy, with a faint shimmer along the seams. "This," she said, "once belonged to the Watchers, the guardians between worlds. Wear it, and you vanish from sight. Completely." John laughed. "You mean invisible?" The woman didn't smile. "Invisible not only to eyes, but to dangers that roam between shadows." He didn't understand the meaning, but he felt drawn to the cloak. An irrational pull. And so, against all logic, he bought it. He kept it hidden from everyone until he married Elise. She didn't believe him at first. How could she? Until he demonstrated it one night in their small apartment. He wrapped the cloak around his shoulders, pulled the hood forward, and vanished before her eyes. Elise screamed. Then she stared at the empty air, her heart racing. "John, take it off!" When he reappeared, she grabbed his hand and whispered, "We will never speak of this. Never show anyone. Never use it unless we must." Years passed. They had a son, Michael. They moved into a quiet village house. Life became peaceful, predictable. And the cloak? It was folded carefully and stored away in an old wooden chest at the attic's far corner, untouched, but never forgotten. Part 2. Strange Shadows return. Decades later, John was 76, Elise 74, and Michael a grown man with a family of his own. Most days were quiet. Tea at 5 o'clock, crosswords, gardening, calls from their grandchildren. But then the shadows began. It started as flickers, dark shapes sliding across walls where no light moved. Soft footsteps in the attic where no one was present. Cold drafts that followed Elise through the hallways even on warm days. John dismissed it at first. "Old houses creak. We're just getting paranoid." But the day Elise found the attic door open, wide open, she knew something was wrong. "John, the chest," she whispered. They climbed the attic stairs together. Dust floated through beams of sunlight. Boxes lay undisturbed, except the wooden chest. It stood open. And the cloak was no longer folded neatly. It hung over the side, as if someone had tried to pull it out. John felt his breath catch. "Elise, who else has the key?" "No one," she said. "Only you." That night they called Michael. "Mom, Dad, slow down," he said. "What cloak? What are you talking about?" So they told him everything. Michael sat in stunned silence at the kitchen table. "You're saying you bought an invisibility cloak in some magic shop? And now it's moving on its own?" "We don't know if it moved," John said. "But someone, or something, opened the chest." Michael didn't believe in magic, but he believed in the fear in his parents' eyes. "Okay," he sighed. "Let me see it." They went to the attic. John lifted the cloak from the chest. It felt warm. "I could try it," Michael said, half joking. "If this thing even works." Before his parents could protest, he pulled the cloak around his shoulders. And vanished. "Elise!" John cried. "Michael? Michael, talk to us!" They heard his voice, but they did not see him. "Wow," Michael whispered. "This is unreal. But then his tone changed. Dad, something's here. Michael? I feel breathing. Behind me. He tore the cloak off, appearing again, pale and shaking. There was something else under it. He whispered. Something cold. Something watching me. John's stomach dropped. He suddenly remembered the old woman's words. Invisible not only to eyes, but to dangers that roam between shadows. Maybe some things were never meant to be hidden from. Part 3. The Echo from the Other Side. The following nights grew worse. Dark smudges appeared on walls, like fingerprints dragged by something that didn't quite understand human hands. Objects shifted in rooms. Shadows moved independently of their owners. And every morning, the cloak was found closer to the attic door, as if creeping toward them. Michael insisted on staying with his parents. We're dealing with something real. Something dangerous. Elise hesitated. But what does it want? One of us, Michael whispered. Or all of us. That night, they placed the cloak in the center of the living room and surrounded it with lamps, hoping to watch it. Hours passed. Midnight came and went. Nothing. Then, flick. All lights died at once. Only the moonlight remained. Elise gasped. A tall, human-shaped silhouette stood behind the cloak. Thin, stretched, its edges dissolving like smoke. John! She whispered. It followed the cloak. The figure didn't move. It only watched them. Michael stepped forward. Why did you come? What are you? The silhouette shifted. Then a second form appeared. Then a third. More shadows. They weren't attacking. They weren't approaching. They were waiting. John suddenly understood. The cloak is a doorway, he whispered. Not just a tool. A bridge between our world and theirs. Every time we used it, we opened the door a little more. Michael clenched his fists. How do we close it? Elise's voice was barely a breath. We destroy it. John's heart broke. The cloak had been with them for 50 years, once a wonder, then a secret, now a curse. But he nodded. We burn it. They carried the cloak to the fireplace. Michael poured lighter fluid over it. John struck a match. As the flame touched the fabric, the shadows let out a silent ripple, distorting, trembling, shrinking back into corners. The cloak curled, blackened, and dissolved into ash. And then, the shadows vanished. Just like that. Gone. The room felt lighter. The air warmer. The house silent once more. Elise pressed a shaking hand to her chest. It's over, she whispered. John nodded, though a sadness lingered in his eyes. Some doors are never meant to be opened. Michael hugged them both. No more secrets. Ever again. Final, the last spark. A week later, life slowly returned to normal. No shadows. No cold drafts. No strange movements. But one evening, as John sorted old papers in the attic, he found something beneath the chest. A single thread. Dark gray. Faintly shimmering. Like it had burned everywhere, except this piece. He picked it up. For a moment, the attic dimmed. The air chilled. A whisper curled around his ear, soft as memory, cold as night. One door closes. Another waits. John dropped the thread. It dissolved into dust. He exhaled shakily and whispered to the empty attic. No more. Then he turned and walked downstairs, back to warm lights, back to Elise, back to life. Behind him, in the dim corner of the attic, a small patch of shadow trembled, then became still. Watching. Remembering. Waiting. Just in case.